By the way, people, this week I start work on the cabin, so you'll get to see updates of me doing a bunch of stupid stuff. Finish a project if you start it. That's just sound advice right there. Don't leave things to rot. Let me see if I can find a picture of what I'm talking about, Remy. So I took a bunch, but I was gonna try to get some progress done before I. Here we go. Pic should be uploaded in just a second. Everyone doing all right today? This evening? For most of you? Anyone excited about school starting back up and their kids having something to do all day? No? Yes? Still waiting for my fearless sidekick, Shadow-san, who hasn't responded to anything I've said in a while. Carmelita rocking Lore Masters PFP. I don't know how to take that. No regrets. I mean, it is like 10 o'clock for him at night, so he's probably out partying or doing something fun instead of listening to my boring voice, as they say. I never did apply for, like a radio job. No, that's not true, Hen. I mean, it's good to have friends that care. You can say that for sure. Yeah, I felt like today was really. I feel like actually these last kind of 2 weeks have been really slow, even for Eperon, which is probably one of the most active discords I'm in, unless it's some group that pays heavily to maintain activity in their Discord. Which there's a couple of those, but I don't drink their Kool-Aid. I'm not familiar with that book. I'll have to check it out sometime. I have a massive stack of books lined up though, so like I wouldn't even get to that by the end of the year. I can guarantee that. Plus, I'm working on my super secret project, which takes most of my time anyway. Yes, yeah, that was a very that was a typical long AMA by Frank. I kept being compelled to join in. I was like, no, I got other stuff to do. But let's jump right in, guys. Fantasy. I do like I do like nonfiction, but I also have mostly read fiction. I mean, there's only so much information that you really want at a time, and sometimes it's nice to just get into a really nice story that has absolutely no real world tangibility, so you can just get involved in it and appreciate it for what it is, and then walk away and go on and do something else. Oh, Shadowson's showing up. I'll let him come on and be his wild self. Oh, messed up his voice over the weekend. That's okay. We're gonna do this. Let me get off of that. So today's topic: do NFTs even matter? What's up, everybody, and welcome to another Hotsauce Dudecast. We have a great episode today, albeit a short one, because I want to hear some opinions and see some questions that I didn't address. Today, I'm going to talk about ownership, influencers, tribalism, and security as they relate to gaming and beyond. We are going to expound on my previous State of GameFi address by comparing Web 2 to Web 3 gaming and the socioeconomic impact that it has, not only at the top, but also at the bottom as well. But first, let's jump back to the original question. Do NFTs even matter? I've read some interesting reports lately that try to tackle the collective consciousness behind ownership, and most of them come from the viewpoint of gamers. And really, anyone who is paying money to be entertained inherently understands the temporary nature of the entertainment experience. Here in the United States, you can basically put a $20 an hour value on most entertainment events. Some of the cheaper things being going to a movie might only equate to $7 to $10 an hour, or maybe you actually enjoy going to the park, which could be free. But if you're going to a sporting event, an arcade, the bar, really most places, you're looking at about $20 an hour, and it just goes up from there. Having 3 kids, that's about $100 a pop to eat out, $200 to go to a sporting event, and it just goes up from there. Maybe you can get into a theme park and make the most out of your entire day for only $300 or $400. But what I'm getting at is that the value of entertainment has a direct correlation to time. This is very true for video games as well. Either you grind your ass off or you pay to play. For many of the whales and wallet slappers out there, they're paying a premium to have an advantage that minimizes the amount of time they have to play to reach the upper echelon. This cost correlation isn't a turnoff, and it is truly how many of the top games survive. It adds to the competitive edge, allows studios a larger budget to maintain cutting-edge experiences for the gamers who are voting with their dollar to remain entertained, as opposed to fizzling out due to lack of fun and running off to another game. Trust me, there's a million games out there, literally, and they are competing for your attention. Odds are you probably enjoy multiple genres, get bored easily, and have no problem playing multiple different games at the same time, even if you are to be considered an amateur at best in most of them, with maybe one title being your main addiction and time sink. Whales that sink significant funds, maybe a few $100,000, maybe more than $1 million, completely understand that the game is temporary. They are not getting this money back, and their money is spent to get the maximum enjoyment out of being one of the best in the game. It's fairly enjoyable to know that you're the best on the server, that people admire you or fear you, run away in terror when they see your name on the battlefield. These people know they are spending their money for a limited time experience, and once the game has lost its luster, they will find another game that piques their interest enough to throw down another large investment. On the other hand, there are many gamers who are willing to pay $10 or $50 once every month, or maybe just once, to enhance their experience, whether buying energy recharges or a piece of gear or boost that will help you overcome something that has proven to be quite the obstacle. A massive contingency of gamers that are annually spending a whopping $200+ billion a year on video games understand that they will not get their money back. Esports revenue is absolutely minuscule compared to the amount of money spent, and we've been doing this for decades. Subscriptions paved the way for a long time in massively popular games, helping companies pay for server space, data storage, and team expansion. Freely downloaded games with in-app purchases, expansions, and downloadable content, microtransactions, was really popularized by the Facebook app movement, Valve or Steam, depending on how old you are. Newgrounds and others were making it easier for hobbyists and aspiring developers to begin pushing products out there without having a major name or investment team behind them. And the way to get people to try your game was by offering it for free. Once you're addicted to the game, you could easily justify spending $10 on a badass skin or more energy or a sick new weapon. So originally, you paid for a console or a computer and a cartridge or disc. This set the precedent of a $60 price tag per game, or maybe you frequented GameStop or rented a game at Blockbuster, for those that are old enough, before paying the big ticket price. Once free games revolutionized video game distribution and that sticker price was removed, the nickel and dime mentality was far more palatable. Spending $2 to try a game or $5 and $10 for an in-game item was far cheaper than $60. But without being budgeted and controlled, it was easy for gamers to spend well above the $60 that you originally would have spent on Super Mario 3 or Halo. So now people are spending gobs of money to maintain the competitive edge, or dropping $2 here and $5 there on games that only keep the interest for a couple days, if even that. But because of the cheap sticker price, it's not a big deal. We have become a society that truly values convenience, and the modernization of game distribution and purchasable experiences express just that. Over the evolution of game monetization, many games were offering limitless or near limitless ways for people to invest into their character or their experience. I had members of a guild in a Facebook app that I played that had invested over $250,000, which was mind-blowing to me, but not my money, so it's not my place to judge. These whales had the money to enjoy the game to the fullest as they saw it. So why this long segue? I'm just trying to paint a picture of how people's expectations in exchange for money changed over the decades. The floodgates were open, and people who pay for entertainment understand the trade-off. There have certainly been games that were shut down or disappeared in the middle of the night, and with that, so did your investment. So if people expect to be separated from their money, if they're paying for a temporary entertainment and willing to move on to the next venture when the time is right, does ownership or of assets even matter? And the answer is yes. In World of Warcraft, there was a serious black market of selling gold, large-scale farming operations, conspiracies, theories of jails forcing inmates to farm gold or power level to sell accounts, and the amount of money spent on gold or an account, all while jeopardizing your security, reached some fairly epic proportions. While it's impossible to truly know how much money was spent, all while against terms of service and risking either being banned or hacked, it is certainly in the many millions of dollars. Now it's truly impossible for me to believe that if someone is willing to drop large sums of money for a character or item or in-game currency, then why would the investor want to have the ability to resell? If you had the ability to spend $100,000 in a game to be a true wallet slapper, would you not want to cash out at the end of your enjoyment, even if you only got $25,000 back? Most people with the money to throw around like that didn't get it by just throwing it away willy-nilly. Maybe I'm not rich enough to have the right mentality about all this, but what I do know is that I wish I had sold my WoW account, even though I was not willing to break the terms of service. Now we're in an age where ownership is a possibility, so people that spend large amounts of time to accumulate a great standing in a game can have the option to trade that time for a dollar amount. On a per-hour basis, it certainly may not equate to a great wage, but getting something instead of nothing is always a better option. Now let's look at someone who doesn't earn a great wage, doesn't have that expendable cash, but still likes a game enough to throw some money into it once in a blue moon. Their account has some value, and the value of those items or enhancements has diminished over time. If they spent $500 and can still get back $250 out of it, that is of serious value to the gamer and will be a huge advantage in the next game they get into. GameFi has a serious black eye right now for two major reasons. One, the bubble popped. But first and foremost, a slew of craptastic games gave investors a false promise of returns. The collapse of Axie Infinity was foreseeable as dilution was creating a highly unstable trajectory, and once the money incoming was outweighed by scholars and extraction, precipitated by a monetization structure that couldn't correct with market conditions, the entire model collapsed. I had seen that previously where the rise of ETH prices had killed other games by making the buy-in astronomical. It's an interesting mentality when someone buys an item, expecting to flip that item and trying to balance the price of the item between Ethereum and fiat. It's a very complex equation at that point, and for 99% of the gaming population, not something that people are going to handle properly. When people are playing games because of the promise of monetary return, instead of playing for the reason that we've been playing games for the past 5 decades, which is for fun and entertainment, how can you expect that to be sustainable? So a bunch of shitty games were produced in this growing bubble, compounded by rising market conditions and a frenzy of bandwagon investors, and when the market came crashing down, what was left? Well, not a whole heck of a lot. Most of the games published have abysmal daily active users, no inbound money, and people scrapping for whatever leftovers they can get before jumping into the next promise of an ROI. People, do not chase waterfalls. In addition to all of terrible games produced by teams without a shred of credibility was the way the games were sold. NFTs that grant a gamer access to play a game shouldn't cost a fortune. If it costs $60 to buy a cartridge and people are okay with that, why should a studio be charging $250 to $5,000 for the ability to play a game? If you're going to charge that kind of money, you better have the product and team with serious staying power that can truly justify a return on investment. But going back to my previous statement, your top priority shouldn't be a return on investment. I do have faith in a few studios, and as I've stated previously, they have the team, the business model, the esports, the marketing, and all of that to follow suit. This is big business. This is a game for big players. Don't believe that just because there's an investor like Ubisoft or Animoca behind it that there is any success guaranteed. This is an absolutely grueling industry that sees a phenomenal amount of companies trying to establish a mere foothold. Marketing expenses to keep a game on the cutting edge would probably make you think that the whole industry has gone mental, but that's just the truth. Terrible games sold at ridiculous prices have caused a serious black eye on what is truly the future of gaming. The vast majority of gamers want to get something back out of a game that they have put so much into. The negative stigma that crypto has in the eyes of the masses, merged with the lack of security, constant hacks, and scams, is making adoption take far longer than it actually should. But for the people listening, this is just going to give you more time to do your due diligence and find the studios that will pave the way for ownership and new technology. Now is the time to find the right studios, because once the giant studios convert, these emergent studios will have an extremely hard time breaking into the scene. NFTs do matter. Ownership does matter, and now is the time to get your education, because in the years to come, digital asset ownership will not just be a phrase in some rando's podcast. It's going to be a household idea that doesn't evoke anything other than me being able to say, hey, I got an account for sale, and knowing that the game studio doesn't care that I'm selling it. Mostly because they're going to get a small percentage of that transaction, so whether they are selling it or you are selling it, the studio is still getting their piece of the pie. Now, let's jump topics and talk about influencers. I can't stand influencers. You see a million posts a day like retweet and tag 3 friends for a chance to win this bored moon doodle NFT. Let's go beyond that and talk about YouTube and TikTok influencers. Society at large has literally created some extremely wealthy people who literally add nothing to the betterment of our species, but because they can do a trendy dance or script some public interaction that seems real and at the same time unbelievable and crazy and is completely fake. Come on, people. Are we so overwhelmed and exhausted that we value stupidity and empty meaning over improving our own lives? I really can't believe what trends on Netflix and what comes across my YouTube feed. I really can't. I always used to laugh at the America's Funniest Videos slogan, America, America, this is you, because we are literally making fun of our own stupidity. It is us. I watched that show as a young child, and now that theme has blown up to a global sensation. An influencer's job is to herd the sheep. When you follow someone for a chance to win something, you are adding to a metric that is devoid of value and serves you no purpose. Do you ever go into a Discord and see that they have 30,000 followers only to find 14 likes on a Twitter post that company made? This should literally tell you that they bought a ton of followers and can't produce anything to entice their followers to give a damn about the project. If you have a 1% rate of attraction from your community, then your product is garbage. Some studios are very good at generating results through social media, but most of them just offer empty promises and are providing the cheapest source of using you to market their product for them. Real marketing doesn't involve using you. Real marketing is done through marketing agencies that get their name published in telcos and publications that have a massive readership or following that produces real results. Don't chase waterfalls and don't be a sheep. Use your brain and realize that influencers offer you nothing, and a company that relies on influencers to generate hits and traction will yield nothing that helps sustain the game. Some companies utilize sports celebrities or industry gurus, and maybe this does work for them temporarily, but you really need to evaluate who you trust in this social digital world. Influencers don't give out items worth 2 Ethereum if they aren't making more than 2 Ethereum for the hits generated, or if they aren't being paid by a project to do that. This realm in crypto isn't just giving away money because they want you to have it. You're growing a brand that the influencer is using you to capitalize on. You are being sold. Your attention, your information, your loyalty. Stop selling yourself for nothing. You have value, and you'll never realize that value if you're constantly giving it away for free. Speaking of loyalty, let's address tribalism. Social media is very divisive and has become incredibly adept at using algorithms to, at first, understand our habits, likes and dislikes, and then cater our experiences to them. Have you ever spoken about a topic with a friend or coworker and then jumped on your phone and seen a news article, headline, or media post about that very topic? Coincidence? No, it's actually not. You are being tracked, monitored, and evaluated more than you could ever imagine, and we do it freely and willingly. Honestly, how secure do you really believe you are? I remember reading articles when I first got into crypto that would talk about how privacy was going to be the number one commodity in the future, with a close second being security. Every swipe of a finger, an interval of viewing an image or reading an article is being tracked and analyzed. Soon our devices will know us better than we actually know ourselves if they don't already. Think back to MySpace if you're old enough, when you got to express your opinions, your music, and you had your own page. It was cool and people could enjoy what you enjoyed or judge you if they disagreed, but it was as personal as you were and no more. Facebook was a great way to connect people, hobbies, and interests. Over time, they got better at understanding or maybe even guessing what you wanted to see, so it became more and more filtered. Now, when you go on TikTok or YouTube, all you will see is a playlist of things that specifically cater to your behavior and your interests. There's no need to advertise adult diapers to a 25-year-old that would rather see a beer commercial being sold by sexy and scantily clad folks with digitally enhanced bodies. So if all we're seeing is what we want to see, what's the problem with that? I'll tell you what the problem with that is. We are losing our grip on the big picture. People who habitually watch the news will see the vast majority of topics are negative in nature: murder, drugs, scandal. The one clip of positivity is outweighed by 11 clips of adversity, and people begin to think that 92% of the world is bad and there's only 8% good. They are selling drama, fear, and emotional discord. Do people really wish to see negativity over positivity? It definitely makes for better ratings, so I have to assume the answer is yes. After all, misery loves company. We are being spoon-fed a future that is catered to shape us for the purposes of profit. Social media focuses our experience to create cheaper advertising, better sales, and greater retention. You are being sold. You are the product. Your attention and your information are being sold at a great price to companies that know how to manipulate your desires into profit. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm sure a lot of people would consider me out of touch with what the hell is going on in the world, but I can assure you that I'm more in touch with myself and my surroundings than the zombies that spend their life on social media. I'm not here to vilify Facebook. There are many good things that come out of social media, but you as the product and the consumer need to understand when your rights and your own personage are being violated by companies that are using you and manipulating you for their own profit. Stop chasing waterfalls. Stop being a sheep. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Just be you. Turn off TikTok. The name says it all. TikTok is your time ticks away. It's your time that is being consumed to generate revenue for advertisers. You are being sold, and your individuality is becoming blurred by you being guided by algorithms and metrics that force you into a box. It's okay to turn off social media. You don't need to know the latest dance trend you're going to be a laughing stock because you aren't going to be a laughing stock because you didn't see that funny clip. You're literally giving your most valued commodity, time, away for free to get nothing in return. Which brings me to security. Can you truly tell me that your information is secure? What measures do you go through to ensure that level of security? Are all of your passwords written down in a black book that you keep in a safe? Do you use a key scrambler with VPN and an updated malware program? Do you ever turn off on your Wi-Fi in public places? On a scale of 1 to 10, how secure do you really believe you are? Because the truth is shocking. The truth is that a very tiny fraction of society is digitally secure. Your credit card number is out there, and just because no one's used it yet doesn't translate into you being safe. I'm not a security guru, and I'm sure that the measures I take aren't enough either. I'll admit that it's once or twice a year that I'm reporting fraudulent activity to my bank or credit card provider. I don't look at financial information over Wi-Fi or on my phone. I don't save passwords, and I don't use the same password twice. It's tedious and time-consuming, but I'd rather cause myself a headache being safe than deal with the headache of my identity being stolen. If you are in this space, then you definitely owe it to yourself to spend plenty of time researching how to secure yourself, asking friends and fellow Discord members what services they use and why they or what measures they go through. I see people around me getting hacked and abused online, and they can always pinpoint where the breakdown was. Maybe they trusted the wrong person, or they had products turned off to bypass something blocking them from executing a transaction. Maybe they verified their identity somewhere that seemed totally legit. There are so many copycat websites and fraudulent services that look so much like the real thing. But the truth is that it doesn't require much time at all to verify the authenticity of a website or service. You should be able to find official links through cross-referencing. You should use burner wallets and sign up for things on an account that can afford to be hacked, while keeping your identity, funds, and other information in an isolated and separate place. Don't make the mistake of cutting corners or having that invincible mentality of, it'll never happen to me. Substantial losses can create emotional and social havoc, financial hardship, or worse. You assume all risks, and you should be of the mentality that no one is out here to keep you safe other than yourself. Due diligence is not just making sure a GameFi studio is legitimately doxxed. It has to do with all aspects that you encounter in this space. You are responsible for your security, from understanding how to surf the web to willingly let opportunities pass you by because you didn't have the time to properly verify everything before proceeding. Haste makes waste. I always discourage people from emotional trading, and that goes into the realm of NFT flipping and GameFi speculation. Diligence and education are powerful tools that will help save you from being a victim and going through life-altering stress and hardship. Be safe. Ask questions. Don't click on anything you didn't ask for, even if it's from a trusted friend, because guess what? They can get hacked just as easily as you can. We really need to get back to the basics, folks. Web 2 and Web 3 games are all just games at the core. Fun games will be more profitable than any promise of a return on investment. It's not wise to put all your eggs in one basket, and this is truly an evolutionary process. Over the next few years, we're going to see a movement towards asset ownership because now that the seed has been planted, it's only a matter of time before we get to watch that seed grow. NFTs may not be anywhere near where they need to be in relation to adoption and relevance, but the journey has begun. What we know today about non-fungible and digital assets may change slightly or drastically in the time to becoming fully adopted, but over the coming years, it's inevitable that this is the future. My friend recently sent me a clip of some news reporters who were talking about the internet, and they had to ask what the internet actually was, and someone off screen was explaining how universities were using it as a means of communication. The news report was, of course, decades ago, but while the news anchors are laughing about this really obscure technology and hearing about email for the first time, it goes to show that most ideas start out as folly or laughable because the terms are not understood. Over a long period of time, the internet gained traction. Science projects were created out of AOL CDs, and after a bunch of weird technical screeches and beeps, we've now come to a point where when the internet goes down, pandemonium and panic ensue. Have you ever spent hours or even days trying to log in when a server goes down unexpectedly for maintenance? Well, we're still in the infancy of crypto, of decentralization, of GameFi, of all these concepts that are advancing society and the way that we operate within it. We are all early, despite bubbles popping left and right and severe but calculable crashes spreading FUD and disaster. Decentralization creates opportunity for those that don't have it. Money and power are shifting more fluidly than ever. We can empower disadvantaged people through compassion and shedding off the tribalism that is isolating us from the reality that we are all in this together. I'm happy to be in this space at this time. It's scary and ominous and grandiose, and at the same time, there is truly no limit on the possibilities. But you have to be accountable, you have to be safe, and you have to be willing to search for the facts, avoid the bad actors, and put your own privacy and security as the top priority. Your time is the most valuable commodity. Make sure you realize that. Questions? And how's everyone doing today? Tried to keep it short. Give me a drink of coffee. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to type them out in general or AMA questions on these topics or other topics. Don't really care. I'll talk about whatever. We can talk about your cat, Fluffy. I think a lot of people are really down on this space right now. As I was talking about earlier, there's it's quiet. It's quiet in Discord. It's quiet in these projects these days, because it's been very taxing. You know, we were all riding such a massively wonderful high for all of those that have been here for the last 2 years, and when it came crashing down, it just it seemed really bleak. But you know, there's a couple games that are going to really turn heads. I'm absolutely behind Aperon as being one of those. But you also have to remember that Aperon was conceived and being created before blockchain was ever a consideration. It was something that they jumped over to, understanding what asset ownership could actually do. And you know, one of the things that I value the most is Frank's understanding of the financial market, which he downplays all the time. But it does matter, you know, when you have an in-game currency and all of these currencies that flow and are balanced in a correct, you know, marketed manner. It's really not hard to think that this could go beyond that and turn into money, like a physical fiat. You have studios that are making $1 million, or you know, I mean that's actually a pretty low figure for a lot of studios annually on a game, and to be spreading that wealth to the gamers is really going to add to the staying power of a game. And so it may be difficult to foresee the adoption at this point in time, just because a lot of people don't really understand it. And when people do, when that connection is made, you know, more easily for the people that don't have finance degrees and whatnot, it's really going to take over as the major theme. People want a piece of the pie, so I would rather play a game that isn't absolutely perfect and know that I can get my money back or get something out of it, or even, you know, make a profit without having to be some top paid esports player, over playing a game that's, you know, just 2% more fun. But it really requires games being fun at the end of the day. Like you can't sell a game that is just based off of an ROI. Like all of these bandwagon companies are going to die, like and quickly as well. It's going to be bad. So, um, but yeah, Shadow-san, fix your voice. Anyone do anything fun over the weekend? My weekend sucked. I threw my back out, but I'm better now. I should have taken pictures of my van door going on. Do any of you guys use apps that show you how much time you spend on social media? I'm trying to think. I'm gonna look one up real quick. Not mice. I can't remember which one it was. There's a good one that tells you how much time you're actually spending on social media, and it's like absolutely appalling. Yeah, it would show a 0 for me too. Actually, my wife and I had a competition years ago to. I mean, yeah, Discord could be considered social media, but it's not really. It's not rife with um, videos that are completely senseless. Like, hopefully, you're on Discord to get information. Then, but my wife and I had this competition to see who could unfriend the most people on Facebook because it was getting absurd. It was like a, you just start friending up with anybody that. Yeah, there are. I'll find some for you, Roka. But it got to the point where I literally just deleted my entire Facebook, and that was like 7 years ago or something. And like she's not alone. There's a lot of people that spend hours a day, Facebooking or watching YouTube Shorts or TikTok, and it's really interesting to think of like what you could have achieved in that same amount of time if you were working on something that was going to improve your life, a side hustle or a hobby, or spending more time with your kids. And they're watching you too. So all that time that they see you on the phone, they're using that as an example of how to lead their life. And so, when your kids are being mindless zombies on their phones, you can't really blame them when you're doing the same thing, even if somehow you think it's different. I'll get off of that soapbox. I'm not here to trash social media, although I think it really doesn't add very much. There's so little to be gained out of any of that. It is good to be connected, but most people aren't using it for the purposes of connection and advancement. And same thing with all of these influencers that are like pushing games and all that. Like, why do we care? Why do we care so much about what they have to say? It's crazy. I'm gonna do something bad. I'm gonna go on Twitter and look at Aperons. $102,000 Twitter followers for Aperon. And we have 53 likes there. 53 likes there, 39 likes there. What is Twitter adding to any of this? Like what do people actually get out of any of this other than a chance to win something? Like that's why we're there, right? Because we want to win an NFT or something, but it's really not promoting, it's not advancing the project on a whole. Um, but we sure buy into it, don't we? We sure drink that Kool-Aid. I know I talked a lot of trash about projects that have all this massive Twitter following that have nothing to show for it, but it should go to show like how devoid of any value it is. I also like to look at Fractal. Fractal was up to 160,000 followers at one point, and now they're down to 72,000. 14 likes on that. 8 likes on that. It's good. And that was created by the CEO of Twitch, the co-founder of Twitch. And so everybody's just riding that wave of trying to get something for nothing, but it's you that's being sold. Y'all need to start asking questions at some point. I do these every week and nobody asks me anything good. Maybe you're just here for a mark. Let me take a picture of everybody's here. And we'll start sending out marks for those. And guess what? You guys might get something for those marks too. I'm not supposed to talk about that, but it's true. Raise your hand if you want to come up on stage. We can have a conversation. You can address everybody, except Xana. No Xana's allowed. I know where that's going. I'm about to jump into some smash carts or something like that. Finish this out. One second. Dope. That's not it. All right. Well, they all filed in at the end. As soon as I mentioned people getting marks, they're all here. But I already got it before this, so to all those newcomers, I'm sorry. I'm going to post a link for Smash Carts here in just a minute. I'll jump down at Event VC. I want to appreciate everybody for showing up. And if y'all want to take it out and some blowing up cars and stuff, I'll see you there. Thanks, guys.